So another fun-filled night last night. I get off work, come home, go to bed, and 2 o'clock in the morning, I am woken up from a beeping. I'm hearing a very low beep, beep, beep. No idea what it is. Try going back to sleep. It's not allowing me. And I'm like, what in the hell? It's not a car alarm, which I'm used to hearing, in this area. And never heard the sound before. I mean, I've heard the sound before, yes, but didn't realize what the sound was. And then I start smelling. I don't even know what the smell was. It was a very odd smell. And I was like, that smells like something is on fire. So I sit here for a minute. My brain is still, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been asleep for 2 hours. My brain is still trying to process what I'm hearing and what I'm smelling. So I throw my slippers on, go to my door, open my door, and I smell a very strange smell. And I hear beeping. So I step down my steps, I start walking forward, and the beeping is coming from my neighbor's house. My neighbor who's connected to me over here in my kitchen area. I hear her smoke alarm is going off. So I can see from the top of my steps into her apartment, and I can see that her TV is on, so I know she's home. And I'm thinking, why is her smoke alarm going off? And maybe she's not able to turn it off. So I go over to her door, and I hear the beeping, and I smell the smell even stronger. So I'm banging on her. She's got a security screen door. I'm banging on her screen door for her to get up. Nothing. She doesn't wake up. So I'm thinking, holy shit. There's probably smoke in here and there, and maybe she's overcome from the fumes, or maybe she has died and is now, whatever she was doing has caught on fire, which it smells like. It's very strange, but it smelled like burnt corn on the cob. I don't know why, but that's the smell that's in my nose, in my head, in my eyes. And so I'm banging on her door. So I call 911. And it takes them, I kid you not, almost 5 minutes just to answer the 911 call. He transfers me over to fire and rescue. I think I timed it on my security camera 3.5 to 4 minutes for them to answer at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now our fire department is, I looked on my Google map, a 12-minute walk from here. 12-minute walk. 2-minute drive. 1 to 2 minute drive in your fire truck. So banging on the door, call 911. The guy was very rude to me on the phone. And all I'm saying is, my neighbor, her place is, something is burning, and she's not answering the door. I know she's there. Ma'am, give me the address. Did I give him the address? And I'm looking at the address on the building as I'm giving it to him. I'm looking at her apartment number on the building as I'm giving it to him twice. And I said, that's North 8th Street. Because the last emergency that I had, The lady told them South 8th Street, and they went to somebody else's house. North 8th Street, sir. North 8th Street. My neighbor, she's on, I believe she is passed out from whatever's going on. She is not answering her door. Ma'am, give me the phone number that you're calling. What difference does it make what phone number I'm calling you from? Take down my information. You can see my phone number. I can see the phone number of phone numbers that are calling me in my hotel. You can see the phone number that I'm calling from. Stop being rude. Listen to what I'm telling you. He would not. And then he says, after all of this, before he takes all of my information, all right, well, we've got somebody on their way. If there's anybody else that's in the building that you feel is unsafe, then please go let them know. No problem, because there are other people. There's a guy that's attached to her on the left, and there's 3 people attached to her on the right, and then there's me, and there's somebody at the very end if the whole building caught on fire. Thank God the building did not catch on fire. Thank God. Because it took the fire department 15 minutes to get here. Mind you, 12-minute walk, 1 to 2 minute drive, 15 minutes with a person trapped in the apartment, unresponsive, not responding to the door. 15 minutes. And then I'll be damned if that fire truck didn't drive right past my address. Right past my address. For God's sake. I'm standing out there in my nightgown and slippers, and they drive right past. I'm not going to say my address. So I'm at this address. There's a building that's right across the courtyard from me. Then there's a parking lot with an abandoned building. And then across the street is a hotel. A little hotel. Like a Super 8 almost. They went to that address. Not my address. They went to that one. Thank God I know how to whistle. Because as soon as I saw a fireman get out of the fire truck, I whistled and is waving them down and pointing at the house that smoke is coming out of. And I said, "You're hit the wrong place." And then took them another 3 minutes to put themselves back into the truck, go around the block, and come back here. Mind you, I've got this all on video. All on video. From the moment I stepped foot outside my door to the moment I came back in and locked my door. I've got it all on video. So they finally take their truck and turn it around and come back out. They are just nonchalant about, and smoke is literally coming out of her apartment. You can see it all the way to the street. You can smell it all the way to the street. And they're nonchalant about coming out. And then the first guy who was, I don't know if he was driving the way that the truck was pointed. He may have been the driver. He walks past me, and I said, there's the place. Just follow the smoke. And my neighbor, of course, now is standing outside because, thank God, I went to the immediate neighbor, gentleman, banged on his door, and I said, "Lily's apartment's on fire. I can't get her to wake up or come to the door. Can you please help me?" So he went, and I'm banging on her windows, and I can see inside of her apartment, and it's filled with smoke. And I'm banging on her windows, "Lily, please wake up." So she's standing outside now. Fireman nonchalantly walking up. He walks inside. He says, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm asking her, before the fireman get here, what was going on. She says she was intoxicated, extremely intoxicated. And she heard the beeping. She thought it was her phone. She never smelled the smoke. She would have died. She would have died in her apartment. I normally sleep with a fan on, and it drowns out all the noises that I have to hear all night long from inconsiderate people on their motorcycles, or inconsiderate people in their cars, or inconsiderate people just walking down the street yelling and bullshitting with each other or fighting or whatever. And I did not have the fan on last night for the first time in a long time, because I'm rearranging and getting rid of things. And if I would have had that fan on, it scares me to think that she would have died, because she wouldn't have woken up. Just a few more minutes of her inside that apartment, and she would have been overcome by the smoke. And that's frightening. And for the firemen who go through all that training and get paid really good money to rescue people from fire, for them to be so nonchalant. 15 minutes it took them to get here. And the two other guys, not the guy that walked in, but there was two other guys. It was like a comedy show, watching the two of them not know what to do. Laurel and Hardy, that's the image that came into my mind. One of their comedy skits, bouncing into each other and not knowing right from the left, and what to grab and what to not take, and the look of fear on the man's face, the first young guy. The fear in his eyes was like, you're trained for this. I understand that you can be afraid, but there's no flames shooting out of this building. What are you afraid of? You're a fireman. And then for you guys to be so nonchalant about this is the third incident. Yeah, third incident that I've had. And the last, I'm going to say, 2 months? Month, maybe? First one was the guy that followed me home from work. And exposed himself to me and the apartment people. And the cops never showed up. I was on the phone. I was listening to the guy on the phone as the man is exposing himself and jacking himself in front of us women. And the police officers never showed up. They called 3 hours later. "Oh, is everything okay over there?" Really? Really? And then the guy that came to my door last week, 6 o'clock in the morning, Not even 6 o'clock in the morning. And he's banging on my door, telling me I've got his money. Kicking, banging, telling me he wants me to let him in. That I have his money and he knows who I am, and Wally is my boyfriend. Everybody knows Wally. 35 minutes it took for the cops to show up. One, because the 911 operator that I first talked to, I talked to 3 separate 911 operators that day, that morning. First operator that I spoke to, I've never had anything like that happen, so I'm a little bit beside myself, and I'm telling this man, stop banging. He's banging on my door as I'm talking to the 911 operator. And I told her, there's a man at my door trying to break in. I don't know who he is. Please send help. I set the phone down for a second so I can look for my address. The woman transfers me to the 311 line because apparently me having somebody try to break through my door was not important for 911. So I called back when I realized, because you get that recording when you dial 311, do not hang up, this is 311. If you hang up, then you're just going to go to the back of the line, basically. And so I hung up and I called 911 again. The second lady I got was much nicer, and she actually sat on the phone with me and of course was asking me all kinds of questions. And you sure you don't know this man? No, I don't. I don't know him. Don't know why he's here. Obviously, he says I've got his money. Obviously, he's intoxicated or on drugs, because there's tons, unfortunately, tons of people that are now here. I've been here 2 years. I've seen more drug-addicted, mentally unstable people here downtown Las Vegas in the last, that more now than I have in the last 2 years that I've been here. And it's frightening. I have 1 year left to go on my lease. I'm not staying a year. No. So that was the second incident, and then this fire was the third. 15 minutes for a fire. 35 minutes for someone breaking into my house. No response to somebody exposing themselves, telling me he's going to do ugly things to me. Never showing up for that. It's frightening to think if there was a time that I really, really needed the police, and nobody would show up. I'm very frightened by that. Very frightened by that. Because, I'm not getting any younger. I live alone. And the thought of me having to be dependent on the men and women who are supposed to serve and protect us frightens me. Because, and I don't want to hear anything about this white privilege bullshit, because there's none. There's none. I work my ass off every day. I live in the smallest fucking place I've ever lived in my life, and I get no privileges. I get none. And these men that showed up last night, 15 minutes, she would have been gone. If it was an actual fire, my whole house would have been gone. Everything that I own, what little bit I do own, would have been gone. because these men that are supposed to serve and protect us didn't see it important enough to get up out of their beds at 2 o'clock in the morning to come and put out a fire and save the life of an innocent person who I told the 911 operator was in that house. Can you imagine if my neighbor wouldn't have helped me? She would have been in there 15 minutes. And there was so much smoke. I can still smell the smoke. It took me 2.5, almost 3 hours last night to get back to sleep because of the smell. And then the thought of losing everything. And my cat, she would have been freaked out. So she would have probably died too. Because I wouldn't have been able to get her out of my apartment. Because she would have been scared. So she would have hid somewhere. And I could have lost all of it. Because the fire department didn't feel it important enough to come faster than 15 minutes. They had to get coffee. Would they stop by Starbucks first? You know, when I lived over across the street, there's a huge apartment building across the street. There's a lady that lives over there who is constantly setting off the smoke alarms because they're very small apartments and people aren't smart enough to know when you are cooking and the smoke starts coming out off of your pan, open a window, not your front door. No, they would open the front door and then set off the smoke alarms to the whole building. And it would take them 15 to 20 minutes to respond. And because they're so conditioned to it just being a false alarm, it would take them longer sometimes. I am scared for myself and for anybody else that lives in downtown Las Vegas. Anybody that lives in this area should be afraid because the fire department doesn't give a shit about you. They don't care if your house is on fire. They don't care if you're laying on the ground in a room filled with smoke. They don't care. The police department, unfortunately, they don't either. If they can't take the time to show up to somebody exposing themselves in a room full of people, or, somebody trying to break in your house, they don't give a shit about you, about me, about your children, about your grandparents, about your parents. They don't care about none of it. All they care about is the paycheck that they get, the retirement that I just read. Firemen get to retire at 50. I'm 55. They get to retire at 50 with $150,000, I think, package, retirement package. It'll be good to get $1,000 a month when I retire. And maybe my job hasn't been as strenuous as theirs, but I still have worked. And I get no benefit. And I'm just glad my neighbor's okay. My throat is burning. My eyes are still burning. My eyes are watering. I'm just glad that everybody was okay last night because her apartment is in the middle of so many people's lives. And I can think of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and myself that would have been affected had that building gone on fire. And the fire department, downtown fire department, that's a 12-minute walk, 1 to 2 minute drive. Beautiful building, absolutely gorgeous building. They didn't feel it necessary to get here any faster than 15 minutes. I'm just glad my neighbor's okay. I'm glad that I'm okay. I'm glad my kitty cat is okay. Don't move downtown. Rent may be cheap, but your life is not worth it. Between the homeless and the drug addicts and the mentally, people should be in hospitals, mentally unstable folks, it's not worth it. I wouldn't even visit downtown. If I didn't live here, I would never, once I move away from here, I will never, ever come back to this area again. Never. Never. Because it's not safe for anybody. Especially if you have an emergency. It's not safe. Well, that's my little rant for the day. I hope you all have a great day. I hope none of you live downtown. And I hope none of you ever have to experience a life and death situation and have to depend on the Las Vegas Fire Department or Las Vegas Metro. Because God bless you, you're not going to survive. Hope you all have a great day. Peace.